Hey, Wisdom family. So I have finished the plantation tour. It was absolutely beautiful. This is the home that we just visited. I was not able to film inside, so I'm sorry about that. But I did take some pictures in the areas where we could take pictures. So I will show those to you. And interestingly enough, this home was originally purchased and owned by a family that has the same last name as my son. So I think he'll get a kick out of that. But I learned a lot, and so this plantation had 7 owners between I think like 1840 and currently, and only two families have ever actually really lived here. The original family, and then after that, it was the current family that owns it now. It's 1,200 acres, okay? 1,200 acres. And again, this was a sugar plantation. Oh, I've got to show you this. Let me show you guys something. Sorry. This is what I have in my hand. This is it's a mint julep, a virgin mint julep. And it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good, I got two. Look at that. So this is the home. Absolutely beautiful. And so, again, this was a sugar plantation. The original owner, they had 200 slaves here. So they had field slaves primarily that worked the sugar plantation. They had some house slaves. The main one was very well dressed because the family wanted to make sure that their slaves, the house slaves, represented them. And so she had the luxury and the privilege of having fancy clothes. She did have children. Interestingly enough, many of you are aware that as slaves, we were not legally allowed to marry because marriage was a contract between two people and we were not considered people, and so we were not allowed to marry. And so we were able to have children, though. As slaves, many slaves were forced to be with someone and bear children that will become the property of the family. And so, can't get married, okay? But apparently, we can legally bear children. So no different from breeding horses or dogs. That's how, unfortunately, how we were treated. What else did I learn? I learned that the husband eventually passed away. He got sick. He developed gout and rheumatoid arthritis. I'm going to sit down for just a moment. He developed gout and rheumatoid arthritis and tuberculosis, actually. And yeah, let me see if I can sit over here in the shade. Sorry, the sun is right in my face. So he developed all of those things, and he ended up dying, passing away. They had 3 children, 2 daughters, 3 surviving children. I think they had a total of 5 kids, but 2 of the children died in childbirth. And they were left with just their 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son who was too young to kind of take over. So the wife took over the plantation and over the equipment and did modifications. And long story short, unfortunately, an overseer took advantage of her and was stealing money. And she maintained the property for 10 years and went into serious debt. By the time her son was 19, the family was fighting over their share in the property, and there was no share. They were in a lot of debt. And so they sold furniture, they sold the silverware, they sold anything that they could, their slaves as well, because the slave who tended the husband, the main woman here, the domestique as they call her, Celia, technically that was his wife, and he was concerned about his children. Where are they going to go? Are they going to be separated? And so what ultimately happened is that 1841, we're at the Civil War, and so eventually American slavery, plantation slavery was abolished, and that was their main source of income, and they couldn't afford the home. Okay, it's like people who build their careers on YouTube, and then something happens and they're no longer getting income on YouTube, and they can't survive because they have no other income. They were dependent on plantation um, living, and so they ended up selling, or the home went into, it was seized by the bank. Actually, the home and 1,200 acres were seized by the bank, and then they moved to Louisiana, never to live in this house again. It passed through several owners who weren't interested in the house, they were just interested in the land. And then a family by the name of the Stewarts actually came through and purchased the property and the home. Again, I'll show it to you. And they renovated it and restored it so that they could live in it. And and so there it is right there. And so for about 60 some odd years, nobody lived in it. And the Stewarts, sorry, I'm chewing on ice, formed a foundation that purchased 63 acres, 62 acres. The rest of the acreage belongs to the family. And that's ultimately what happened, at this property. I mean, that's just kind of like the shorter version. We know, I'm going to show you guys the slave quarters again. We know that there was a lot more going on than that. But the inside of the home, if you're into historian houses, absolutely beautiful, really beautiful to see. So I'm just going to check on the time because I was able to catch up with my group for the tour. And I don't fancy taking Uber all the way back to New Orleans. I mean, all the way back to, yeah, I said it right, New Orleans. So I'm going to make sure that that I don't get left behind. I'm going to get on the bus early is what I'm trying to say. So those of you who missed the live earlier today, thank you guys so much for being on. So you can see again what these slave quarters look like. Okay, this is what they look like. Now that another interesting fun fact about the home is that it was built with bricks by the slaves that worked here. So they actually went into the ground, pulled up the clay, formed it into the brick shape, put it into the ovens, and actually formulated the bricks that went into building the home. So this home is going to stand the test of time. It can withstand any hurricane, any earthquake. That home will probably still be standing when people are extinct. And that will probably be one of the last standing homes. The entire home is constructed out of bricks, everything. When you tap the walls, there's no hollow sound. It is just all solid construction. Absolutely gorgeous. So that was another interesting fact about the home itself. And again, it was just beautiful to see. There's a lot of history here, but as I said, there's not a sadness here. Although we know that there's probably horrors that took place on this piece of land. Whatever spirits that might have been here seem to be quite settled. Because I didn't get a feeling of sadness at all. And so now I just need to find my bus. Because it seems like I'm always in the wrong place. I think that's the bus right there. So, okay. Oh, it's hot. You know what? Let's go into the gift shop really quickly. We got a little bit of time. We got time. Shout out to Sensible Creation, sister. Oh, you're welcome. And Can't 14. Go to the Whitney Plantation down the street. I don't know if we're gonna have time. This tour is only set for this one, but I would have loved to. Yeah. So okay, it's just your typical gift shops. Probably not going to be anything significant to see in here, but it's cool in here, so that's why I decided to come in here. It was another hot day. Let's see. Oh, they have spiced rum. Oh, but I can't bring it. I cannot bring any alcohol back because I didn't check any bags. Did not check any bags. So, can't bring anything back. Boo-hoo. But anyway. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm about to head back outside. See if there's a table free. Yep. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Right. Many of you will probably be on the replay, which is fine. It's okay. See what time it is. It's 12 o'clock exactly. I'm headed back to the bus, y'all. I want to make sure that I'm on time this time. That's the bus, right? Okay, you got the AC on?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna head back to the bus. I'd rather be early than late. Hang on one second. I need to find a garbage can. These cups are too cute. I was being hold on a second, y'all. 1 second. I know these camera angles are crazy, but I don't have a camera crew. Remember Nesto? He had a whole camera crew, y'all. Those of you who are following the Ernest Williams story. Oh, listen. How about Diddy is talking about he wants to testify at his trial, his RICO and S trafficking trial, because he has a story to tell. Now Diddy has a story to tell? Since when? Diddy. Stop playing, bro. Since when do you have a story to tell? Because according to you, there's nothing to tell. According to Diddy, he didn't do anything. According to Diddy, people were making up stuff because they were trying to get money out of him. But now he has a story to tell. That's hilarious. Oh, and he also came out and spoke debunking any rumors stating that he wasn't eating. And so there are a few content creators who are reporting that Diddy wasn't eating because of fear of being poisoned. And he said that's not, he doesn't fear being poisoned. I think what happened is that there was a news station, I can't remember which one, so please forgive me, but there was a news station that was mentioning the fact that he might be concerned about being poisoned. Okay, might. But I think that was misconstrued, and then people started using that as a means of saying that Diddy is not eating, and he said that he's definitely eating. So we can go ahead and debunk that rumor. Diddy said he's eating just fine with everybody else. That's what he said. So anybody that was saying that Diddy is not eating, that is not the case. You know, y'all, I'm gonna walk over here because I want to show you guys the sugar cane. This is as close as I'm gonna be able to get to it for you. So I'm gonna show you those of you never seen sugar cane before it gets to you in its edible state. Now, this plantation no longer processes sugar cane; they just grow it. So they're not processing sugar cane over here. Hold on a second. So for those of you who've never seen it, now you've seen it. You've seen it right here on Wisdom's Daughter, okay? And that's what the sugar cane looks like. That's what it looks like. And after all this walking and talking, I have worked up an appetite, y'all. I'm hungry. But that's it. That's what the sugar cane looks like, okay? For those of you who have never seen it before and wondering what it looks like. So this was definitely worth it. It was about $70 for the tour, mainly because we had to travel so far. But it was worth it. Definitely worth it. The other thing that I saw that I had never seen before was a device that they would attach to a slave's ankles called a crab shackle. It looks like a little crab. It goes around their ankle, but it has little balls inside of it. And so they would attach that to slaves who they feared might run away, or if they were being punished or in trouble. That because basically you couldn't walk around without being heard. As soon as you walked, you hear, the almost like sleigh bells, ringing. And so that was a way for them to kind of prevent slaves from running away, or to know where they were, and they can kind of keep track. So, this wasn't the horror story plantation type of tour. It was more focusing on the history and not so much on the unpleasant parts. But let's be real. I mean, we understand what this is. I'm standing in the sun, and I'm just standing here, holding a camera. I don't even know what they call this thing, but y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I don't know what happens. You cross 40 and you just forget every damn thing. I can't remember what anything is called anymore, but it's a handheld device that's holding my phone, and I'm holding it, and it has an extender arm on it. So if you guys remember what it's called, help us out. Put it in the chat, because I can't remember. I really can't. Oh, yeah, I'm a mess. But anyway, look, as I was saying, let's just be real about what this is. This is it was a real plantation, and there were 200 slaves here. So that's the reality of it. But beautiful place to see. The home was actually gorgeous. I actually liked the wraparound porch. It wraps around almost the entire house, and then each room, living room, bedrooms, have doors that go out onto the balcony. And I like that style of home. So I don't know. I might be looking at. I'm not going to permanently relocate to Louisiana, but I might be looking for a Louisiana style home, because I kind of like that, and like the nature. I came here to see the oak trees, and realizing that it's possible that at one time or another there were people who were hung from those trees. But it's not the tree's fault. So what I think was most interesting is hearing the story told about the family in a panic because they're in debt and slavery has been abolished, and now they can't pay their bills because they cannot legally force their slaves into work. They can't sell slaves anymore, and that's what they were doing. They were selling their slaves for income. And so, the family in the 1800s is low-key panicking, like many other families, because slavery doesn't exist. What are we going to do? Like this area, this state, like many other states in the South, built their economy off of slave labor and didn't have a plan B. I realized today that you had slave owners who fully intended to continue living in a slave economy for, in their minds, centuries to come, for generation after generation after generation, had no intentions of slavery ever ending. And so in their mind, until the end of days, they were just going to buy, keep, and sell slaves, and that was how they were going to maintain their lavish lifestyle. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? To me, that's no different from someone who commits fraud and they're just going to keep going until their last day. And that's how they're going to maintain their lifestyle, by lying and stealing and taking things from other people. Mr. Can't Stop, Won't Stop was never going to stop until he was stopped once he was finally indicted on that RICO. Because he fully intended to keep going. At no point was he going to decide, you know what, it's time to give it up. So that was the most interesting thing, and realizing that this truly was a dilemma for slave owners once slavery didn't exist anymore. A lot of these people couldn't read, couldn't write. They had a huge ledger on the wall in what we would call their dining room. And on that ledger had the names of all their slaves, their age, and what skills they had or talents. So I also learned that the word Creole really meant born in America, right? And so if you were under French rule or French influence, like the family here, they were French, and the slaves were Creole because they were actually born here in America, and they spoke French, and that's what French Creole is. And I have French Creole in my family. My grandmother, well, technically, she's my great aunt, but she raised my mom, so I know her as grandma. And so that whole side of the family, they're all French Creole. So that was something interesting that I did not know. Fun fact, where the word Creole comes from. Took on a completely different meaning. I also learned that the children would remain with their mothers until about age 8, 9, or 10, at least here on this plantation. And around, 8 or 9, they start learning whatever trade their parents learned. And so if you had a daughter and you were a seamstress, she would start learning how to be a seamstress. And they would kind of groom them, and then once they became about 10 years old, they would kind of separate them, and the kids would get to work. So it's a nice little history lesson. Nice little history lesson about how things were done here. Now I found that interesting that they didn't separate the parents until age 10, and I'm saying to myself, well, that's interesting, because I know that there are plenty of plantations where they would take that baby when they felt like it, newborn or not, So I couldn't imagine being owned and you have no freedom. I mean, you only get to do what your masters say that you can do. You have to eat what they tell you to eat, dress the way they tell you to dress. You're fully dependent. That sounds like jail, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like our American jail system? Right? You're told when to wake up, when to go to sleep, how much outside time you can have, and being made to lay down with a stranger, or a man being forced to take a woman that he does not know to make a baby. Whew. Yeah. Those are the difficult conversations. And I believe that is the reason why the education system has decided that they don't want to, I'm going to go ahead and get on the bus and stop. They don't want to, hold on a second, that's a little loud. Okay, I'm back on the bus. I imagine that that is why there are those in the educational system that are uncomfortable with this being talked about in schools and wanting to forget about it because it's an uncomfortable conversation. There are many that are tired of talking about it. They don't want to hear about it anymore. We can teach about the Holocaust, right? Still learning about the Holocaust. That's not a myth. That didn't go away. We're not tired of hearing about that. And that was equally painful, but see, they didn't do it. That was them, right? There's no guilt there. Jones' poetry said, especially fair-skinned females being forced off plantations in many cases, it can give her... Yeah, well, that is where the colorism issue began. It began on plantations, with the lighter-skinned slaves being given preferential treatment in comparison to the darker-skinned slaves. So you wonder why we have a colorism issue today still, among the black community, well, it started on plantations, right? Turning the field slaves against the house slaves, you know? That whole narrative. So, yeah. But anyway, everyone is starting to return back to the bus. So I am
weight up a lot on my suitcase.
going to get ready to end the live here. But I have video that I recorded because something interesting happened in the hotel. Okay, my room just might be haunted. And I have some pictures to share with you guys. So look out for those on the community wall. And I will be doing a recap video of the trip, among other things. And once I return on Saturday, we will get back to our regular scheduled programming. I'm not sure why people are unsubscribing from the channel, but I've been looking at the numbers, and the numbers are going backwards. So, you know, just keep an open mind. I have to do more stuff than just Nesta, right? There's more stories out there than Ernest Williams. But those of you who've been faithful, thank you so much. Make sure you like the video on the way out, and be safe, be at peace. Keep your eyes and your ears to these YouTube streets, baby. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.